Good morning and welcome to Table Talk with Brenda Perryman. I'm Brenda Perryman. I'd like to introduce my co-hosts.
Good morning. I'm Chris Summerall, public servant for the citizens of the city of Detroit.
Good morning, Tamika Ashford, Public Relations Specialist for the Ashford Agency.
And good morning, I'm Darren Calhoun, Supervisory Investigator with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Yes, 1978, on this day, by Mr. Ken Coleman, 1978, One in a Million, the Ron LaFleur story, airs on CBS TV. It tells the rags to riches story of Detroit Tigers center fielder Ron LaFleur, who joined the team in the mid-1970s after being discovered playing baseball while serving a bid at Jackson Prison. And he was a good story, real good story. And as I didn't get a chance to finish last week, I said I would raffle off a book to the first caller who asked about the book each week. This is my book, Mood Swings and Magic Carpet Rides, my book of poetry. And I think it's fitting since we have a couple of young men today on the panel. And this poem I started to read last week about sons. This is very important to me because I believe that so many of our men are under attack in this country. But sometimes our young men, our boys, know things about, especially if you're dating and you're a single mom or something like that, or vice versa, you're a single dad and you're dating. They get feelings about people. And this poem is called Sons. I guess my son really knows his mother's heart. The feelings he derived from you were bad right from the start. He knew you'd mishandle my feelings. He sensed your crooked hand and your dealings. My baby has more insight into his mom than I ever realized. He tried to help me keep my bearings and not be hypnotized. Your ways of caring always seemed to zigzag. Whenever something went right, you jump up and find a snag. My son knew you wouldn't do and warned me right away, but I had to be hurt before I knew to heed what he had to say.
Wow, powerful.
Wow.
Well, sometimes we got to listen to the young ones. They see things that we don't always see. And we have like an explosive show for you this morning. We have a lot to talk about, and we can't talk all day on them, but you're free to call in 318-868-0351, 868-0342. And the first one is about the Pentagon spokesman on fighting ISIS. What do you all think what's been happening this week?
Well, I think that the information that we have, predominantly coming from the president, is that ISIS is a chief concern, but it's not something that the United States can do alone. And I think that the president has been reaching out behind closed doors as well as publicly to enlist the assistance from the global community because ISIS is an issue directly to the United States. But anytime you think about terrorism, you associate it with freedom, where individuals try to
9/11. We go back so far. We really, really go back so far on that.
You have Al Qaeda starting, and apparently they've been wiped out now. They're no longer the terrorist du jour. Now it's ISIS, ISIL. And what's the common thread is what I've been asking for the last couple of weeks. The common thread of this is money. The common thread of this is billions of dollars.
Billions of
and
dollars.
oil.
Billions.
So, we're always going to be faced with these type of threats. Now, I'm not sure if I'm not in the terrorist business, nor would I ever be.
Okay.
No, not ever. But if I look at the last set of leaders, when President Obama got quiet, and we talked about this on the show one time, still waters running deep. He got quiet. He didn't say much. Everyone's saying, "Oh, he sounds weak. He looks weak," or whatever. Those Al Qaeda leaders got knocked off right off the top, and I have a feeling that's exactly what's going to happen again.
And then too, when I was going over the article, it made me think about the impact that it would potentially have over here as far as just our daily lives, not necessarily from the terrorism, but from a repercussions as far as I was thinking was gas prices going to go, because you hear
Economics,
they're bombing the
Dollars.
Syrian oil
The
refineries
refineries.
and other sanctions potentially that will
And
try
then
to
you
have
hear
all
that
money.
oil is going down. I don't know what's happening, so I'm going to fill up.
That's
I did fill up this morning.
That's a good point.
that
I
might
mean,
be the setup.
But again, it's
the fill up
about
before the setup.
and it's about money. I mean, when the gas prices go up, who wins?
Well,
It's not us, because we gotta feel it.
OPEC
wins.
definitely
the
wins.
The Halliburtons of the world wins. The Bechtels of the world wins. So it's about money and
And the
and
Cheneys.
war. The Cheney, and see, then you have the war machine comes back in. Oh, we got to stop all these terrorists. So now we have to start having war. So then you got to start making beans and bullets and tanks. And who does that? These same companies. So
Yeah.
War is big business. Terrorism is big business. They're getting. They're. I don't know how they can seize money out of a bank and not get stopped.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they say that this war, well, they're not calling it
Not
war.
yet. Not yet.
They say that it could last for years. And it's like we're so war weary here, but then again, we're fearful.
But it's never been a quick fix either, and so I really anticipate this even going beyond the Obama administration. I mean,
absolutely.
I think people were under the assumption that we could go in there quickly and come out, but that's not the case at all.
Well, that's what Cheney told people.
Right.
I mean, he was the architect of so much, which ended up being disastrous. He's always been wrong.
Well, from a different perspective, you hear the conversation as to how these things serve as a distraction for for people to pay attention to something outside of the economy, jobs, things like that. And so, there's two different sides of this, because in our country, fear is something that the media, even our government, uses to control us, the community, the citizens. And so you have to kind of really make sure you're on solid ground when you're listening to these stories and things like that, and do your due diligence as much as possible to make sure that you're not really falling into that just batch of a pool of fear that sometimes the media perpetrates.
Now another big story is the Ebola outbreak. It's getting bigger and bigger, isn't it?
Wow.
This thing has magnified, and once again, there seems to be no sense of urgency. I mean, when you look at who's getting on board and the millions of dollars being poured into, I know China will be engaged, but it just seems like there's a lax attitude to going in and supporting Sierra Leone and other countries there. So I'm very concerned about West Africa. When you look at how these numbers are growing, I mean, they're saying by September 30th, which is right around the corner next week, these numbers will be quadrupled by next week. And so what are we going to do? I'm looking at how many physicians are coming in. The numbers are too low. And so I don't know where the lax attitude, why that's the case. It's just no national support there. International support is very lax and slow. And the president has expressed that on numerous occasions.
And it may be a situation where, other countries are looking at the United States as the entity that's going to fix this. And because going over the information,
We're all over the place.
It really just seemed pitiful when you look at a country and their donation or pledge is 700 beds.
That's unacceptable.
That from a nation, 700 beds. That really, to me, is a slap in the face at a potentially an epidemic. So I think that from a global perspective, and I don't know how much has to play with where this where this is going on. That it's in Africa versus Europe. If this was in Europe,
Well,
would we
some
see
things-
more?
The race card is always there.
I hate to say it.
It is.
But
is.
it's true.
and it's
700
unfortunate,
beds.
especially. I can't even imagine what this is. And what I was starting to studying last night while we were preparing for this, what is Ebola, and how I thought that was wiped out. I mean, there's a movie out, an old movie out called Outbreak.
Outbreak.
Oh,
How is
yes.
how is this
Yes.
spread? Is it spread by that one cough? Is it spread by a scratch or whatever? And you got to forgive me. I thought this was, I thought
all
this
thought that,
was
yeah.
gone, was eradicated.
Yeah.
But this has been going on since March. And you're right. I totally agree with you. There's a lack of a sense of urgency. This has been going on since March, and we're just now hearing about 2,900 deaths, and only because
And counting, they say the
and
people
counting.
are waiting to die.
Right. And only because we've heard about it here because there was some
US
doctors, some U.S. citizens in Africa on the continent who got sick. So
Right.
we have heard about it had they not gotten sick, and that's what concerns me is, what is this? Is this being mutated? What is what's going on with this thing?
Well, this is what President Obama said. I want to be clear. We are not moving fast enough.
Right.
We are not doing enough. Right now, everybody has the best of intentions, but people are not putting in the kinds of resources that are necessary to put a stop to this epidemic. There is still a significant gap between where we are and where we need to be. And the U.S. cannot do this alone. Do not stand by thinking that somehow, because of what we've done, it's somehow taken care of. Isn't that true?
And I think that he was pleading as much as declaring that we can't do this alone, and for the global community to always think that trump card is the United States, it's sorely mistaken, and especially in an instance with Ebola, something that can directly affect every single country on earth. And so it's a matter of him being very direct, and I think that this statement was quite direct and quite clear that we can't do this alone. And so the United States is known from speaking from a position of strength. So for him to say this is very powerful, and for him to word it the way he worded, it shows you how serious this Ebola outbreak actually is.
Well, I was saddened yesterday when I heard that Eric Holder resigned. I just thought, and they put on one of the MSNBC shows, they showed that scene from Key and Peele where, the comedians, and they had one portraying Obama and one portraying his other side who really was telling the people, because Obama, he can't say certain things, and they said Eric Holder was the one saying it. And I just hated that he's gone, because he was really so candid, and he really spoke out against so much injustice.
Ms. Perryman, I believe that this is not the end. I believe that Attorney Holder, we're going to hear more great things about him. I did speak to a highly regarded attorney here in the city of Detroit yesterday about this, and him and his colleagues seem to believe that perhaps he's going to go for that Supreme seat. So someone's going to be retiring very soon, and so
Well,
I think it's very strategic. I don't think he's just resigning. I think that there's something much bigger that lies ahead. for
well,
this
if
type
he
of-
has a
yeah.
Republican Congress who has to get him in, I don't
We
know.
might get some help on the Senate. We might.
If
we
the
might.
if they hold on
If
to the
folk-
Senate.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
folk get out
we
and vote,
might,
they will.
yeah.
You might. Eric Holder has just been an awesome figure.
Yes.
Yes.
He is somebody that young black men starting off in high school and college can look up to. He's championed everything, and even especially in our agency, we've had unprecedented access to the U.S. Department of Justice, and in our field, the EEOC can't file charges against state and local governments. And we need the Department of Justice to do that. Since he's been in, our cases have just quadrupled for the fact that he created this partnership between our agencies. So talking about sad. I'm glad he didn't leave when people said, "Oh, you need to go
Yeah.
because of all the
Yes.
controversy or Fast and Furious and all these other things." I'm glad he decided to walk when he wanted to walk.
The Ferguson police chief, he apologized to the Brown family, but I said too little, too late.
Too late.
Before we go to this next segment, I have a call from Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Are you?
Hello?
Good morning, Brenda. How are you?
Oh, fine, thanks.
And good morning to the panel. I'm going to get to it before you bring it up, but this situation with the city council and the mayor voting to remove Mr. Duggan remove Mr. Orr as the emergency manager. Now, I say this.
Can we,
Seeing as this
Tom,
bankruptcy- seeing as- Yes.
we're going to talk about that in just a
Okay.
few minutes. Can you call back or hold on? Because we are talking about that
Okay.
after my next segment.
Okay, I'm retired. I got time.
Okay, great,
All right.
thanks.
Okay.
Now, this is something I want to talk about. I want to talk about a disturbing video. If we have it, I'd like to have it played, please.
Have your license, please. Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
I just got my license. You think you're my license? I got my license right there. That's my license right there.
Put your hands behind your back. 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 Put your hands behind your back.
What did I do, sir?
Are you hit?
I think so. I can't feel my leg. I don't know what happened. I just grabbed my leg.
Brakes on 866. I need a 1052.
Why did you shoot me?
Well, you dove head first back into your car.
I'm sorry.
Then you jump back out. I'm telling you, get out of your car.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear 2 words. Ah,
Hold on a sec.
my license is right here in the front. I didn't hear that.
Brakes on 866. Shots fired on 1038. I need 1052 out here. Rod River at the Shell Station, New York City. Seatbelt violation, sir.
See, I just pulled it off right there at the corner of the pole in the gas station. Ah,
Well, I got help come to you, okay? I got help come to you.
sorry. Ah,
Just sit still, bro. Sit still for me, okay?
yes, sir. I didn't do nothing. The wallet went through. Yeah, dude, this shit just happened.
Where's your ID out of here?
It's right, that's fine. Ah,
Negative 67.
I tried my medical courier, sir. That's my picture ID
Just
right
hang
here.
tight, just hang tight, just hang tight.
Ah, ah.
Y'all stay right there, please. Stay right there.
That was in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, where a police officer came up into a gas station where a young man was getting ready to pump his gas and asked for his ID. The young man went into the truck to get his ID, and when he pulled out, the officer acted like he had a gun, and he shot him. He shot him several times. He fired several times. And you see the young man put his hands up and everything. And I said, "Sir, why did you shoot me?" I mean, we were lucky that this guy was as bad a shot as he was. But this young man is a metaphor for so many things that happen to our black men. It's like it's open season. And I'm tired of it. I am a mother of a son. I am a friend. Brothers, and one is right in South Carolina. But everybody is being affected by this. I am so upset. I saw this yesterday, and every time I think about it, I cry because this young man says, "Sir," he keeps on calling us, "Sir, why did you shoot me? A seatbelt violation?" Where he only took off the seatbelt as he was coming into the gas station? Come on, what's going on here? We have to be vigilant, everybody. We just have to be vigilant because that could be your husband, your father, your son, your friend, your brother. It could be any one of them. And I'm tired of looking at our men as being walking targets. I'm tired of it. We have to do something. We have to insist on something. We got to stand up. If you don't stand for something, you got to fall for anything. You're going to fall for anything. Now, I'd like to open it up to the panel because this is something it's horrible.
Well, as a black man, I think that I can speak for the great majority that say we have experienced some form of injustice, in some form of even harassment from an authoritative figure. I think what you touched on, Brenda, was really key in how we have to take note and stand up for something. And I think it starts outside of instances like this. I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists, but there seems to be a systematic demonization of the black male in this country. And we really need to challenge what we accept as far as the definition of our black men, whether it's the NFL and the domestic violence and how now, we see who's the face of that.
Yes.
Whether we look at the local media and we see that the stories that they run first and loudest are associated with black males. Whether we look at movies, commercials, there is a psychological teaching that's going on in this country that the black male is automatically dangerous.
Automatically.
That's not something that's new. That's
Right.
been one of the very first movies ever made in this country was Birth of a Nation.
Right.
And it was about the Klan going after this black man who either touched or whistled at a white woman. So that's something new. This period that we're in right now is more than frightening. I mean, I have a son in South Carolina, so that could have easily been my son. But
Yes.
with police just open firing on these kids and on these young people and on black men especially, this is new. This is something that I don't
It's
even.
not
It's not new.
I'm saying
Yeah.
the period that we're in now, where they're just
It's
open
more
fire,
brazen.
where we now have the type of media, and I'm not
There you
talking
go.
about Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 2. I'm talking about social media,
Yes. Yeah.
where everyone is a reporter. Everyone who has a cell phone, whether it's the cheapest or the best, everyone now can report on what's happening.
Well,
So-
this guy was brought down by his own
His
dash
own
cam.
dashboard, which is great. I mean, they're talking
It
about putting
is.
those body cams in Ferguson. Imagine what if he had a body cam.
I know. But not only is the training bad, it's the frame of mind is bad.
It's the frame of mind, and that's where we need to start with the high level of hatred. It is nothing but hatred. I think that this has been going on for years, but as Darren said, now we live in the world of social media. I think that police officers have always been aggressive with black men. I think there's always been a level of hate. So what do we do now? What do you do when the police who have taken an oath to serve and protect are going out on manslaughters? What do you do? Do we contact our Congress, our Senate? What is it that we need to do? How do we police the police? Because this is horrendous. It is unacceptable. As I always say, this would not happen in any other community. You never hear of officers going in and allegedly shooting an Asian or a Caucasian just because that situation there that happened in South Carolina was very difficult to watch, especially as a black woman. When you think about that, could be your husband, your fiance, your boyfriend, your brother. When are we going to sound the alarm? And I think we also need to make our elected officials, make them be held accountable. When you look at each elected official, they all have the same platform. I will fight for you. well, if you're going to fight for me, we need to address this huge elephant in the room. And when are we going to do something about it? We cannot wait till it's another state. From Trayvon Martin to this young man to situations
And
that happen that
people-
we're not even aware of.
I
This is
hate
a
to
continuous
interrupt
cycle.
you, Tamika, but what makes me angry is there's this big group of people who will find a way to say that LeVar Edward Jones was wrong. And every time I think about him saying, "Sir, why did you shoot me? Sir, I was getting my ID." I mean, but he was still calling him sir after he had been shot.
It speaks about the type of individual Mr. Jones was.
Yes,
But
yes.
I think that when I'm looking at this and other situations like this, the judicial system, because there's so much inconsistency when we see stories like this, sometimes the cop gets punished and sometimes he doesn't. And so there's no consistent,
the time they
there's no
don't.
consistent fear that should be there for violating a citizen's rights.
Most
There
of the
should
time
be a-
they don't.
There should be a healthy fear from the officer's perspective that if I step outside of my line of duty, then I'm going to go end up in jail. And these officers who take these drastic cavalier cowboy out in the Wild West actions, they don't have any fear.
They
Because
don't.
the law is on their side.
The law has been on
they're in
their
the blue
side.
club. There's no consequence. There's no repercussion. And if they get a tap on the hand or whatnot, they're, nothing really happens. They get an opportunity to resign. Are you kidding me? You get to shoot someone, to kill someone, to impact an entire community, and you get an opportunity to resign. You get a crowdfunding for your case. It's unbelievable. It
Attempted
is
murder
unbelievable.
is what I say. Attempted murder. If this guy, Mr. Jones, had driven off and had nearly come close to swiping that officer, they would have tried him for attempted murder with vehicular homicide. So this officer should receive the same. Justice should be blind. He tried to kill that young man. He tried to kill him.
Yes. Right.
You don't pull out a
Yes.
gun. I was
pull out
raised
a
in a
gun.
Just
community.
start shooting.
It says you don't
Shoot
pull
the
out a
wolves.
gun unless you got the intention.
Shoot to kill.
He wasn't shooting at the guy's foot. He was going for body mass. He was trying to kill that young man.
Okay, they said they fired him, they arrested him, or whatever. But I'm looking at Ferguson. The point is, the district attorney in Ferguson says, well, it may be in November when we finish investigating whether or not they have not even put Wilson in jail. They haven't taken his nothing, and he killed Michael.
What I fear most of all is not just these police officers, but I'm sitting here thinking, what's going to be the reaction when enough is enough? What's going to be the reaction from my brothers when
That's
when it's-
dangerous.
when it's exactly
Because being honestly,
Exactly.
we gonna lose that battle.
A lot
Thousands
people-
of us will lay in the streets,
You're right,
and they will have
and
no
that's-
problem
And is that
shedding that blood.
And is that the plan? And I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
What is-
but it's that's
And you have to wonder,
just
is
seems too
this
concentrated,
the
too
rope a dope?
orchestrated.
Is this the rope a dope?
It seems exactly too much orchestration.
A seatbelt violation. Let's talk about a seatbelt violation. So
Skittles.
Yeah.
It wasn't even him, but they said he took some cigars from a store. All these minor things are
and
causing
Trayvon
people-
Martin did nothing.
He had
Absolutely
Skittles
nothing,
and IC.
because I have seen the video. I did a movie about it. I've seen a video. I saw the video of him in the 7-Eleven getting his stuff and just going on. And then there. I mean, Geraldo Rivera talking about he shouldn't have had on a hoodie. Come on, this is supposed to be land of the free and home of the brave.
Geraldo Rivera
I've
been so
had
easy.
it, and I think a lot of it is an offshoot of President Obama being president.
And
too.
that's why we have to continuously sound the alarm. Again, I go back to our history. This is an opportunity where we need our celebrities. We need everyone on board, everyone engaged. This has to stay at the forefront. We cannot wait for the next situation to happen, because there will be a next
we don't
situation.
have to wait for that because it's happening every
that's
week.
what I'm saying.
Days
Right
after
now.
days
That's what
after
I'm
the
saying.
Michael after the Ferguson issue, the Michael Brown issue, Another person was shot.
Yeah,
in
the
San Diego.
Walmart guy and
then
all
and then
this
the kid in
stuff.
Walmart. It's happening. it's
Locally
happening,
here, we just had a guy who was killed in Northland,
and they
choked out, and
And-
hey,
and-
you
and
know
they-
what?
No
Oakland County
charges.
The
prosecutor
prosecutor
said
said
we're not
No,
gonna press
no charges.
No charges.
Okay, and lastly, I know we have to move away from this, and I think Tom is still on the line, but something has to be done. We have to, we won't get past this. We can't let it ride. And Tamika, what you said was so poignant. The celebrities, the people who have people following them on Twitter, have 5,000, 50,000 followers. They need to start speaking up because along with fame comes responsibility. Okay, now we're here in Detroit. The former, I guess he's maybe the emergency manager,
still,
Kevin Orr, agreed to a deal that will keep him on as emergency manager. He's still it. And an exit plan has been confirmed. It's Tom still on the line? He could call us back.
Well, you got to think about Mayor Duggan when he was on the campaign trail. One of the first things he did say, if I recall correctly, is that once he was in office, that the emergency manager would be gone. So I think in that regard, Kevin Orr will be, the title will be gone, but I think obviously he's still going to be on board to close out this bankruptcy deal. But I think from a PR perspective, he has to leave or he has to be out of that role, but he's still going to be there, I believe, in some shape, form, or capacity.
Yeah, and it's still. I think the story is still developing now. I'm wondering who's going to pay him.
Well, they're
If he's-
having, the council and the mayor and the governor's
The
folks are
city
having
of
backstage
Detroit.
conversations.
And that's
So
the problem.
those
I mean,
closed door negotiations
problem.
have been taking place. And
Has Snyder endorsed Mark Schauer yet? No.
I have not seen a public
No.
endorsement.
Okay,
You mean
Tom is on the
You
line.
mean
Dog it,
You mean
Good
yeah,
morning, Tom.
I know what she.
Good morning.
About
Ha-
Mayor Duggan endorsing Mark
Yeah, you
Schauer.
say-
He
she
said that
would
he
say
made a
that.
statement at the Labor Day parade endorsing Mark Schauer. Now,
Oh.
to get to my point in regards to Kevin Orr, you know what? This did not come as a surprise to me that Mr. Orr will still, be here, simply due to the fact that, although it was through the governor, this bankruptcy is Kevin Orr's baby. All right, and they're in the delivery room, and it's about to be birthed. So, it's kind of like, say, as the adage says, why change you don't switch up horses in the middle of the stream. And I think that Mr. Orr wanted to stay here and see this bankruptcy through, because I remember last year when he was about time for him to be appointed, I remember him saying, and I think I got it right, that this would be the Olympics of bankruptcy in terms of, what the city was going to have to go through. It didn't surprise me. But I mean, I knew this, that until the city can show some significant improvement in their financial status, meaning they are not deficit spending, that, either Mr. Orr was still going to be here and manage the finances, though he's out of running the city government, okay, but, or either if he wasn't going to be here, I think they've got, like, say, an oversight board, which they will be in place for, I don't know how many number of years, to make sure that, we don't go back, when I say we, I'm talking about city government, go back to the way the things were done before we arrived at this point of bankruptcy.
Well, I think, what do you think, why does the city council really want him here?
He gave them their jobs back. He
You know,
paid them money.
I'm not really sure,
think
to
they
be
really
honest
want
about
him
it.
here.
I mean, other than the fact that, maybe they just wanted to, seeing as basically he's the surgeon of this bankruptcy, that, he's got, like, say, he's got the game plan from where he is to where he wants to go. And they just want, like I said, you don't switch horses in the middle of the stream.
Well, Councilman Spivey said he probably needs to stay. In what capacity, we don't know. I mean, gee.
Well, I believe the council's hands are tied too in many regards. I don't think that they are necessarily getting all of the information. I think there's a couple of conversations happening. There's one with the council and the mayor and the emergency manager. Then there's probably another conversation with the mayor and the emergency manager and the governor. And so when you look at here, when they have these closed door negotiations, what happens behind those closed doors, we don't know. But I do believe in, again, as I stated earlier, in some shape, form, or fashion, it probably is appropriate, only appropriate for Mr. Orr to close out this bankruptcy since
Yep.
he was the lead on this initiative.
That's what they say.
And from the perspective of a regional effort, there's still a great number of individuals that don't have any confidence in the council, especially. And so,
Is that so much right now?
I think so. I think that this council is still unproven.
Because they've been under the
Well, they've
emergency
been a
manager.
powerless council in many
and so I
regards.
think that OR is their connect to regional credibility. They haven't had an opportunity, correct, but there are a lot of individuals, predominantly outside the city, who say, "I like this guy," or "I like what he's doing," and so
Well,
by having
Tom-
him still in the room, it allows them to stay content with the direction of where everything is going. Now, once their plug leaves the room, now will they have the confidence?
So then argue, is that a bad thing? Because right now Detroit, and I'm not, don't call and
I
send
know.
letters.
We're gonna call
Send no
you.
letters.
Tom, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
But the access to this wealth and this rebirth of Detroit,
Oh my gosh.
is
Yeah.
that, I'm just asking, is that a bad thing for the city of Detroit?
Well, I think that if we're staying on point with Orr, I think what's most dangerous is the secrecy around it. If he's going to serve as some type of consultant with public funds, most likely paying that salary, why is this meeting held behind private doors?
Now, I'm only bringing this out because, Gary Brown was right in the mix of all that mess.
Well,
And he took a lot of money from this city, and now he's still getting a lot of money from this city.
And Detroit has
And
voted
Detroit
him
has
in. It
voted
wasn't
him
by
in.
happenstance.
Right,
Right.
right.
it was
Position.
no, it was a
So-
different. He was selling himself way different than he is
Yeah.
now, too, though.
Any last words on this, Tom?
But like I said, Kevin Orr is the father of this bankruptcy, and I'm pretty sure, like I said, when he's gone, you're still going to have this oversight committee there. So basically, you go from one emergency manager to how many number of people are on this oversight committee to make sure that the city is guided, that they keep going in the right direction and not fall on, past practices that got us to where we were to the point of bankruptcy.
Well, hopefully we should be coming out of this
And
bankruptcy.
Brenda, let
soon.
me say this: we can go nowhere but up from here, because if we haven't hit bottom yet, I don't want to see what the bottom looks like.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a great point. And
reminds me of that song. We started from the bottom, now we're here.
but you got, and another thing, I guess, what I think about is, what would the city look like without this right now? And I don't know. Would the city be prosperous? Would the city be moving?
I think that, it'd be a little bit naive to attribute the momentum of the city to.
I'm not
and I'm not saying
attributing
you are. What I'm saying is that there were things already aligning in the private
Right.
sector, and Orr came in at a specific time.
And what they wanted to do to public employees, I
And
tell
so
you.
this was
Yeah.
the perfect storm, and so Orr kind of is riding this wave that he didn't necessarily create, but he capitalized on, and not only him, but politicians in
yeah.
general are riding this wave of look what
And
we're doing.
But you know what, though?
Snyder's all over television acting like he's the man.
But Detroit is like a tale of two cities in terms of, I think
It is.
the one gentleman said something about, in terms of, I guess my word is progress, in terms of Detroit getting better. Is it going to? Yes, it's going to happen, okay? Like I said, a tale of two cities. The best of times is what's going on right now with all the business development that's going on. The worst of times is the, financial drama that's hanging over Gotham City, meaning the city government.
You're absolutely right. That was a great metaphor because I thought about the Tales of Two Cities, Tale of
great
Two
minds
Cities,
think alike.
and the first line, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom,
All right,
so
thanks for taking
much.
the call, brother.
Okay. I had another article, and I don't know if you thought about it, that one where dozens of employees, Duggan's employees, are paid $100,000 or more. And I guess they're working hard, but gee, that's a lot of money. And that's a lot of people.
It is, but this is not unusual for a major metropolitan city. When you look at cities like Chicago.
But we were
DC
broke.
Well, we're never broke. I mean, we know that there's
Well,
always a
they-
budget.
They didn't say that to the
allocated.
employees.
Yeah, well-
they said we were broke. We're broke, and that money you got in your pocket that that you earned and fell out for, give it back.
Yeah, I
So
get
we
that.
were broke on one side, but
Well,
not on their
there's one
side.
for the working poor, that budget, and then there's the persons who serve at the pleasure of the mayor, and so there's always a budget for that. And so when you look at the caliber of persons who are on this team, they're going to, require that type of six-figure salary. So I'm not surprised by the numbers. Again, historically, that's always been the case. Perhaps this administration may have a few more than usual, but typically that's how it is with the mayor's office.
But can't we say that it's individuals in these tax brackets that actually drove Detroit to its ruin financially?
I don't
No, I
know.
wouldn't
Well,
say that,
wait a minute. Let me. It wasn't the guys picking up the trash. It wasn't the police officers responding to the calls. It wasn't
But I
the
think this
the
has
fire.
been festering for decades.
But what I'm saying is these individuals, their names can be replaced. Their
I wish I could be replaced
their-
with that
their
construction
titles
person.
and salaries are what's consistent.
$147,000.
$250,000. Their titles and,
$250,000,
and
yeah.
salaries are consistent. So what I'm saying is these are the decision makers in the city. These are the individuals who made poor decisions, which ultimately led to the bankruptcy of the city
Not
of Detroit.
all of
That's
them.
not necessarily
No,
true.
no.
I'm not
because they're
indicting
the
all of
same-
them.
They're
Yeah,
not
not
the
the
same
same.
people.
No,
Maybe the same position.
I'm
but
not
the same
saying
people.
these individuals. We're talking about a job and a salary, not necessarily an individual.
Well,
So
it
what
would
I'm
be
saying
the
is these
individuals'
people.
policies that would create
The administration,
the
too.
administration and the people's the persons who were in it definitely deals with the person, not just the position. Not
No.
the position at all. I mean, the position exists
My point
to
is-
perform a function. The person in it
My
may
point-
make bad decisions
Absolutely.
that drive the city down. Not
But we can't at one hand say, well, they merit these salaries because of their talent, their education, so forth and so on, but neglect to see that it's been individuals of this same talent pool, experience level that have made
Well,
decisions.
I don't
some
think you
of
can
them.
say
He
that.
has
I
a
don't
lot
think
of
you can say that.
different ones.
Because
No, because Kwame Kilpatrick had a whole
My-
nother set.
right. And
Well, I'm
I-
not talking
looking at
about
some-
them
I'm looking at some-
individually.
but
I'm
that's what
talking
you're
about
saying,
their
though.
position. They didn't take a pay cut from firefighter A. The position of firefighter, the position. It wasn't James, we're going to give you a pay cut. It was firefighter. It was lieutenant. It was just like I'm not talking about individuals here. I'm talking about the position. So when we're looking at their positions, we need to scrutinize them the same way they scrutinize the value that positions are other positions that are much lower as far as tax bracket wise in the city.
Wow.
That's going to be difficult to do.
yeah.
Yes.
I understand what you're saying. I absolutely understand what you're saying. Period. I don't want to say but and then,
Yeah.
erase everything I said. I understand what you're saying, period, space. The issue, and we talked about this a little earlier, the issue is, are you going to get talent for less than what they're paying? These salaries had to have been negotiated. I understand that. Are you going to get that type of talent? And if not, if you're going to pay, and I'm looking at a name here that I know very well. If you pay this position half, will you get this caliber of person?
I'll tell you this. In my experience with individuals, the relationships I've had with individuals in these capacities, not necessarily these individuals, they could get much more in the private sector right now.
Absolutely.
So it's not necessarily the salary that's attracting them as much as, for some of them, the challenge. The chief
challenge, the
financial officer
relationship.
under Mayor Bean,
several of the executive assistants, they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so it's not necessarily
Exactly.
because I can guarantee you that if we dug deeper, folks have left higher paying positions
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
get this.
Oh, because they can.
Because they want the
and they want the challenge,
power.
and then they could get, probably
all
the
about
power,
relationship
and then
building, too,
afterwards
yeah.
they could get much higher positions.
Right, and then there's some people on this list. I'm sure we can't just.
No, we're not
broad- the
talking-
broad brush.
yeah, we're not talking
There are some
absolutely.
people on here who want to, just like you said, want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They want to be a part of history, and they want to see that this city come back, and then they can tell. Then they have a legacy, and they can tell their
What a
children.
better way
and they'll
than
tell
them
their
taking a pay cut
grandchildren.
themselves to
And
show
they
that
can tell
they're
their-
identified with the rest of the city.
And
What
it-
a what a
it didn't say-
better.
it didn't say- I didn't say
That's a
identify.
good.
What a
That's a
better
good
way to
idea.
identify. What a
That's a
better-
good.
Absolutely.
Everyone said identify. What I said was they want to be a part of history.
Well,
Now, if they
history
get
starts with action, and so if
History
they
starts with action.
yeah if you have to if they take an unprecedented.
Okay, I'm gonna jump on the other side. It's why I need to take a pay cut. If I'm bringing you my talent
Well,
and skills, why do I
it-
need to take a pay cut?
Well, the same reason why everyone else below you bring you their talented skills and they have to take a pay cut.
Morale.
They might do.
Morale.
They might take a 10%
It's called
cut.
leadership.
You know, they may do
That's
it
not
for
leadership.
PR
It is
perspective.
leadership.
I mean, they
You
might
don't,
do
you
that.
don't tell somebody to
because
do.
I'm the
You
executive
do,
director.
and you lead them, and you show them. You know, these are the leaders in this city. For
And a lot of them are really good people. Really good people. I know.
And qualified to do the job.
Very
too.
And
qualified.
so are the individuals who took pay cuts. They're really good
Oh,
people,
absolutely,
and
yeah.
they're qualified. What I'm saying is that if you want to gain the momentum,
I hear you. Yeah.
if you want to have your troops rally behind you, which that appears what the part of this plan is, show me something. If you, especially as I remember, Chris Rock said he made a joke. He said.
What did
Talking
he
about
say?
divorce, and he said if a guy with 50 million got divorced, it doesn't affect him the same way if a guy making 50,000. He said, guy with 50 million, his wife take half, he still got 25 million. But if a guy got 50,000 and his wife take 25,000, now you're in a whole different. So what I'm saying is these individuals, they could take a little bit of a hit,
Yeah,
and I'm not
I
judging their
agree.
household,
I
but
agree.
what I'm saying, it would go much farther. To show the integrity that they have toward not only the city, but the individuals who serve the city in a much lesser capacity.
And that might happen. It has happened in past administrations where the persons who serve at the pleasure of the mayor have taken a 10% cut or so. So that did happen.
That's a
in the
good
past.
thought. That's such a good thought about that pay cut. What did you think? We just have about 3 minutes. What did you think about the new Red Wings Arena? Did any of you go down to that groundbreaking ceremony?
I was down there.
Was this yesterday?
Well,
Yesterday,
I was down there Wednesday when they were doing the containers. They were starting to stack those containers, those shipping
apartment
containers.
building.
Yeah, for the and so I thought it was interesting. I read the story about what they're doing, also how the Illiches got the inspiration for it, and I think that it's dynamic. I hope that
Brings
it
jobs.
I hope that it brings jobs, but I hope that it brings more than jobs. I hope it brings or continues that energy and kind of bridges that gap between Midtown and downtown.
Yeah, when they
because
took-
we
when
do
they
have
said
a
where it
little
was,
of
I'm
a
thinking,
valley,
oh, that is pretty.
valley
That
there.
is a pretty
But at the
good
same
spot.
time, there's a lot of individuals who I hope are going to get the resources they need, who call that area home and who've called that area home for the last 25 years. And so we know that they're going to be relocated. But I hope that it's not just an issue of loading them up in a truck and dumping them somewhere. I really hope that there's a plan behind the scenes to get these individuals who need help. We're talking about individuals with the NSO, mental health issues, the resources that they need. So it's not just about business, and it's not just about washing your face, but actually getting well from the inside out.
Yeah, I want the rest of the city to be taken care of also.
And I was also going to say, certainly this is a very exciting time for the city, but it's always my hope that minority vendors and contractors have a seat at the table. You know that this is
Absolutely.
a multi-million, billion-dollar deal, and so it's only right that the folks
In
who have been here,
construction,
absolutely,
yeah.
the minority
Construction is a job,
contractors
exactly.
are at the table and are able to receive a huge chunk of this pie.
Yeah, because citizens are paying for this too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
not just the
Yes. The
Illages.
tax credits and, really I think just give individuals the opportunity.
Yes.
As a businessman myself, I
Equal
don't want
opportunity.
anything happen. Thank you. I don't want anything given to me.
Right.
I just
Right.
want the opportunity to competitively go after it. fair. I want it
Yes.
to be fair. If you say there's a deal at the end of that wall and you say line up here, I just want to know that I'm going to hear this gun, the same gun go off as the next guy.
Quick,
That's
quick.
valid.
Have any of you been passed over for something that you were qualified, you were the most qualified for?
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Best dressed in high school.
Yeah, no,
gosh,
probably not.
I had these kulaks before they were popular. And,
Yeah, okay.
okay, I guess.
All right, right. That's another topic I want to talk about at one point. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for bearing
Can't
with
do
us.
it.
Nobody called in to get the book. Tom could have called. He didn't
Yeah,
ask
he
about the
forgot.
book. Yeah.
Attention
So
to
next
detail,
week,
Tom.
the book's still
Call my
available.
cell phone. Call in.
Huh?
I got a couple already though.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah, it is.
All right. We will see you next week with Table Talk. Thank you, co-hosts. And we'll see you next week. Have a good week and a good weekend, please. Thank you.